Imagine standing before a cruel emperor, your heart racing, and being forced to choose between life and loyalty to God. That is exactly what happened to Saint Victor the Fur, the first African pope, who dared to challenge the Roman Empire with his unshakable faith. A decision that cost him dearly, but left behind an eternal legacy. Take a deep breath and picture the moment. The emperor's cold, calculating eyes, watching your every move, soldiers around you, ready to act at the slightest sign. The silence in the room is broken only by the sound of heavy breathing and the frantic beating of your heart. This scene is not just a dramatic moment in the life of Saint Victor, it is a turning point in the history of Christianity. What will be revealed at the end of this story may transform your faith and renew your courage in the face of the personal battles you are fighting right now. If your soul has already felt something just in these first few moments, do not hesitate. Subscribe now to continue this spiritual and historical journey that might change everything. How many times have you felt pressured to choose between your faith and what the world offers? Perhaps in small things or major decisions, you too have faced this internal conflict. The decision of Saint Victor is an invitation to reflect on our own courage in the face of adversity. Each of us faces moments where it seems easier to give up what we believe in. But is temporary ease really worth it? Saint Victor teaches us that true courage lies in remaining faithful to what is right, even when everything around us pushes the other way. If you are in a moment of decision, remember this powerful scene, and let the courage of Saint Victor inspire your choice today. It is no accident that you are here. Keep watching and discover what the end of this story might reveal to you. It was the year 189 in Rome, a time of great spiritual battles and deep doctrinal divisions. Rome was an expanding empire, but spiritually divided, a place where the Christian faith was both persecuted and fiercely debated. In this challenging context, Victor, an African from Tunisia and son of Felix, emerged as a spiritual leader. The church faced internal and external dangers. Heresies such as adoptionism threatened the purity of the Christian message, creating confusion among the faithful. This challenge was particularly painful for Victor, as he knew that the essence of faith was at stake. His appointment as Pope was not merely a recognition, it was a sacred mission that demanded uncommon spiritual strength. Victor assumed the chair of Peter, determined to protect and guide the people of God in turbulent times. With each sermon, each letter he sent, he fought to preserve the truth revealed by Christ, facing resistance and harsh criticism, yet always keeping his eyes fixed on the divine purpose that guided him. Now picture the tense meetings in church councils, the passionate arguments among bishops, the constant pressure to yield to more popular or politically convenient demands. Saint Victor knew he could not please everyone, but his mission was far greater than any temporary popularity. Amid the turbulence, Victor began writing in Latin, making the gospel accessible to all, especially to the Romans, who were trying to understand this new faith. His decision to use a universally understood language strengthened the unity of the church and made his message clear across the entire empire. To reflect on this period in history is also to reflect on the divisions we see today. Just as Victor faced doctrinal and cultural challenges, we too face difficulties in unity and coherence. His courage invites us to seek unity and mutual understanding amidst our own differences. During his pontificate, Victor faced painful moments of doubt and the apparent silence of God. Churches were dividing, bishops were confronting his authority, and many times he felt deeply alone in his struggle. The change in the celebration of Easter to Sunday triggered one of the greatest internal crises the Church had ever faced until then. Victor understood the spiritual importance of this decision, for it meant a definitive break from Jewish traditions to establish a unique Christian identity. However, the churches of Asia Minor strongly resisted, generating a confrontation that left the Pope shaken. On dark nights, kneeling in prayer, he questioned his own path and cried out for divine answers. Even under immense emotional and spiritual weight, Victor persisted in his decision, trusting that, even in the midst of the fiercest storms, God was present. This painful journey deeply tested his faith, but it also revealed the resilience of his soul. How many times have you also felt as though you were walking through a spiritual desert? Moments when it seems that God has gone silent in the face of your most fervent prayers. St. Victor shows us that these moments do not signify divine absence, but rather an invitation to perseverance and trust. If today you face doubts, loneliness, or rejection because of your faith, remember that St. Victor walked these same difficult paths before you. He understood that each challenge was an opportunity to strengthen his faith and his trust in God. Do not be discouraged by today's trials. Stand firm and know that just as St. Victor crossed his painful journey, you too are capable of facing your internal and external battles with renewed hope and courage. When all seemed lost, God spoke through the courage of St. Victor. With divine authority, he dared to excommunicate the bishops who refused to follow the new paschal tradition. This act, initially shocking, was in fact a moment of divine clarity, revealing his mission as a true spiritual leader. The miracle lay in the future acceptance of this bold decision. Years later, the First Council of Nicaea would confirm his choices, officially establishing Sunday as the day of Christ's resurrection. What initially seemed like a defeat turned into the greatest liturgical legacy of the Christian Church, strengthening the faith of future generations. Sunday, as an eternal symbol of victory over death, became a spiritual mark that transcends time. In this way, St. Victor transformed a moment of crisis into an immortal pillar of Christian faith. Even today, many miracles are attributed to the intercession of St. Victor, especially among those who face religious persecution. There are accounts of people being unjustly freed from prison after prayers made in his name, and of miraculous healings attributed to his spiritual intercession, testimonies that reflect the enduring power of his courage and sanctity. This miraculous connection between past and present proves that God continues to act throughout history. The unwavering faith of St. Victor serves as a beacon, illuminating paths that still need to be walked by us, especially in the difficult times we live in. Perhaps you need a miracle today. Let the courage of St. Victor inspire your prayers and renew your hope. God still works wonders through those who remain firm in their faith. How many times have you felt that God was silent in the face of your deepest pains? How often have anxiety, loneliness, and the feeling of spiritual abandonment taken hold of your soul? The story of St. Victor teaches us that even in the darkest moments, God remains present, silently shaping our character and strengthening our faith. In today's times, where emotional and spiritual crises are common, looking to the example of St. Victor can be transformative. His persistence, his courage in the face of rejection and criticism is a powerful inspiration for those who today face both internal and external battles. Just like him, you too can find purpose and hope even in the harshest storms. If the pain Victor once felt reflects something you are going through right now, declare your faith. Write "I believe" in the comments. Share this message with those who need this spiritual light, becoming part of the chain of faith and courage started by St. Victor. Many people today live in constant anxiety, struggling to find meaning and peace. The story of St. Victor is a powerful reminder that God works behind the scenes quietly, transforming our pain into a greater purpose. When you face challenges, remember that your struggles are not isolated. Like St. Victor, your personal battles have the power to inspire and help others. By sharing your faith and hope, you become part of the ongoing miracle of healing and spiritual renewal. May the courage of Saint Victor inspire you to act with compassion and strength in the face of life's modern difficulties. His example may be the starting point for deep changes, both in your life and in the lives of those around you. The persecution led by Septimius Severus became unbearable, and at last Victor was captured. Imprisoned, tortured, and humiliated, he faced a merciless trial before the emperor. His only crime was remaining faithful to Christ above any earthly power. Faced with the ultimate choice between denying his faith and living, or standing firm and dying, Victor did not hesitate. With supernatural serenity, he chose Christ, embracing martyrdom with the dignity of the saints who had gone before him. In his final moments, he prayed in silence, surrendering his soul to the Creator. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Matthew 5:10. These biblical words are the final testimony of St. Victor's life, whose martyrdom was not an end, but the beginning of eternal glory. This final scene, though tragic, is a powerful invitation for each of us to reflect on the meaning of sacrifice. How often are we called to choose between our faith and convenience? The example of St. Victor shows that true freedom lies in choosing what transcends this earthly life. May this example of courage in the face of martyrdom renew your own bravery to face everyday adversities. St. Victor's faithfulness unto death is an eternal inspiration to all who fight for justice and truth. Today you have discovered the story of Pope St. Victor the Fern, a man whose faith overcame pain, persecution, and even death. May his courage inspire you to face the battles of your own heart and to remain faithful, even in the midst of your greatest storms. If this message touched your heart deeply, do not remain silent. Comment Amen and share this story with someone who needs spiritual strength. Subscribe to the channel and become part of this community that rescues forgotten stories to transform the present with faith, courage, and hope. The story of St. Victor does not end here. It continues in every heart that accepts the challenge to live an authentic and courageous faith. By choosing faithfulness in difficult times, you join a millennial legacy of men and women who changed the world with their courage. Let the story of St. Victor inspire your actions today and always. You are called not only to hear, but to live this powerful message. May God bless every step of your journey, a journey that, like his, can become a light for generations to come.